Lions on the radar. My name is Daniel Vallis and welcome to our channel. In our last video we talked about how Jupiter is still currently within the tail region and the grouping area associated with the hind legs. Jupiter is still in the hind legs, even recognized by modern astronomy today. But we find ourselves at the finish line, very close to the finish line with just a few hours and days left. I did update the timeline. In our previous research we knew for sure that the 8th was still within Leo's constellation, but I've done some more double checking and verifying that yes, it will still be in on the 9th and 10th according to our modern understanding of the boundaries of Leo's constellation. But it will be out on the 11th, so the rest of the 8th, 9th, and 10th are still viable. And thank you to Matt for bringing that to our attention. And I double checked even in Stellarium with the ecliptic longitude for the proper date of crossing the boundary, and it is on the 11th. So we do not know the day or hour. All we know is the constraints of the prophecy. The prophecy has the two conditions that we have been looking at. And we know the constraints and we know the time frame. And the prophecy states that the gathering of Shiloh's people will happen while the prophecy is still valid. So we are continuing to watch. We see so much coming together right now. And actually, as we go forward in faith every single day, we see more and more things coming together, reinforcing that the Lord has drawn our attention to this time for a reason. And in our last video, we talked about how the enemy knows this time is very important too. And they're looking right at these few days where we are now. When we think back of all that God has shown us through the Spirit over the past year, of bringing different celestial signs to our attention and the Star of Bethlehem and giving us wisdom and insight and putting the pieces together and connecting the dots and really helping us see what is going on right now and helping us get an understanding of the times. When we see how He has led us and He has spent over a year calling us, and that's the picture of the Feast of Trumpets going on right now, being fulfilled right now on the larger scale of the trumpet calls at midnight. The bridegroom is coming. Get up, rise up, trim your lamps, go out to meet Him. We've had a year where God has been calling our attention to this time and to the prophecy to get us ready. He told His disciples to watch and be ready. He's going to be having signals and messaging to let us know that He is coming and that we will see the day approaching. But Satan has been doing the same thing over the past year as well. And in our last video, we talked about how they released the video game Everybody's Gone to the Rapture on August 11th, which is right at this time frame. And it's interesting to note that it's in past tense on that day. And they had a lot of other messaging too, which we've covered before. But that is very significant preconditioning and pointing to this date. At the same time, they're also pointing to Leo and Jupiter too as well. But then we also looked how they pushed the messaging of the lion and Kali on the Empire State Building. That was a year ago as well. They did that on August 1st last year. And you can remember at that time they were bringing a lot of attention to lions at that time because of the whole brouhaha over Cecil and the lions being killed and all that. But in the same presentation that they had on the Empire State Building, they also presented Kali, equated with darkness and destruction, equivalent to Shiva. So they've been preparing their disciples for a year now too as well, drawing attention to the Leo and Jupiter and all that. They're watching the same celestial clock. They're looking for a different lion than we are though, but they know full well what time it is. And we talked about the arch that they put up in Trafalgar, the triumphal arch from Palmyra. We mentioned how the Institute for Digital Archaeology that put the whole thing together, they have on their main page right now, on the very front, still promoting that this triumphal arch supposedly is on display in July and August in Oxford. And we've talked at length of the connections with Alice through the Looking Glass in connection with Oxford too as well, and the messaging that they also tied to the triumphal arch. But they've been promoting this whole concept of the triumphal arch still, and specifically narrowing it down to July and August, bringing attention to this Palmyra triumphal arch. Right on their main page. You can't miss it. So that is still being promoted right now at this time frame, right where we are, right at the middle point between August and July, where we are now. This is still being promoted in the background. They still have this theme going on. And then we also noted on July 31st, the Roaring Lion fire started. Very suspicious activity with that. Very strange how it developed too as well. A lot of veteran firefighters remarking about that. That is still ongoing right now while you watch this video. It's only been 25% contained so far as of yesterday. So it's going to be a while before it's totally under control and totally put out. So that is still ongoing right now too, the message of the roaring lion fire. And it's interesting, you could even take it as pointing to the devil as a lion who's seeking whom he may devour, just like a fire. He's coming to kill and destroy. And it's very interesting that this messaging and this picture is still ongoing right now. And it started within this time frame. But then the enemy also has what's called the Lion's Gate portal, and that deals with the New Age and astrology as well. But that started on the 8th and goes through the 12th. And very significant that they're pointing out this event which ties to this exact time frame and calling it the Lion's Gate portal, which we've been talking about in the last few videos. This is what they are expecting, and this is what they've been building up to. Their lion coming through the gate. So this has raised some huge eyebrows that the enemy knows exactly what time it is and has been pointing to it, and they're counterfeiting and distorting the true message in the celestial signs right now and the celestial clock. Satan knows what the true time is, but he's distorting it for his disciples. And some other people have pointed out that on August 14th may be a possible date for the Georgia Guidestone to be referencing to as well on the Rabbinical Synagogue of Satan, 9th of Av, on their calendar system. Which brings up a good point. When you follow Satan's calendar that he put together to draw away the world from God's calendar and from God's word, you're going to be deceived. And if anything significant happens on the 14th, it's probably going to be because people have been set up to associate certain things with that date on the rabbinical calendar, and they're just being set up for deception because they're following blind guides, which even Jesus told us that they were blind guides if you follow them. He has his own calendar. He's not following Satan's calendar. So there is a lot of enemy activity going on right now. And part of the deception with following this false calendar is the connection with the 9th of Av. We talked about the connections with the triumphal arch of Titus and how that ties in with the George Washington Arch in New York City too as well. There's going to be a lot of deception tied to a false triumphal entry at this time because they're following a wrong calendar. They're being set up for deception because they're following a wrong calendar. Right in context of the true celestial clock that God told us to watch. And we have an understanding of time for that. But then it appears, if the gathering of Messiah's people takes place within the time frame that we're looking at and everything seems to be on track for, then the Antichrist is going to be revealed pretty soon, right after that, right on the heels of that. And he's going to come in counterfeiting the Messiah, making his triumphal entry. So you can see by following the wrong calendar how easily someone can be set up for deception because they do not understand the time. Time is very important, and watching the proper clock is very important. But then also right now, we find ourselves right in the time of the Olympics, which goes from August 5th to the 21st. That is going on right now. Heavy symbolism right now associated with the Greek gods and the whole story of Olympia. And we talked about before, this is not accidental. They lit the torch with the prayers to Apollo back at the same time that they put up the arch. And here we are at the Olympic Games now, and they're still promoting the arch, but tying together so much with their Lion's Gate and their other deceptions too as well. They are expecting their Apollo figure, their Apollyon figure. And in our last video, we talked about how the enemy has been using the whole concept of Leo with the Oscars and the climate control and the UN and all that a while ago to bring attention to Leo and Jupiter. So it almost was no surprise to find out that they pulled that news up again and promoted it. The exact same characters, the exact same figures, right on the first day of the start of the Olympic Games. Using the same characters, the Oscar and the Pyramid and Leo and the climate change, and even referencing how Leo DiCaprio made this speech at the UN building about the upheaval and massive change, and him talking about the climate change and all that on the same day that they had the International Mother Earth Day. We talked about all that in the news just on the 5th. They brought all that back up to the surface right now, reminding people and making the connections with everything that's been made before, bringing that up again right now at this same time in connection with the movie about the return too as well, because they're expecting the return of the Antichrist, the return of the seventh king. But they supposedly excused bringing this up by talking about how, the Olympic Games were all about green and climate and taking care of Earth. So this will be a good time to remind everybody that Leo talked about this a while ago too. No, this is all being set up. They know exactly what time it is, and they're pulling together their messaging right now. The mystery of iniquity is getting ready to be capped, and they know it. And it was on this same day, the 5th, that they had the torch lighting ceremony. The one that they lit back at the same day that they put up the arch in Trafalgar Square, the triumphal arch then. So they're coming full circle now, and this is the torch lighting ceremony, and they lit a cauldron at the opening ceremony. And several people remarked how it reminded them of a witch's cauldron too as well, because it was very small. But in the ceremony, this lit cauldron was lifted up in front of a larger artwork display. It was a moving kinetic sculpture that moved with the wind and changed shape as it went. But supposedly the fire represented the sun and the sculpture representing life, but the whole thing turned in a spiral fashion. And this torch, which they lit when they put up prayers to Apollo and invoked Apollo there in Olympia, they now lit a cauldron of fire representing the sun at the opening ceremony of the Olympics. Because that's who they're worshiping. That's who they're venerating, the sun god Apollo, Apollyon. That's who they're getting ready for. They know exactly what time it is. All this is coming together right now, and they're tying it exactly on the day with Leo and Jupiter again. They know the son of perdition is about to be unrestrained. And we've seen them getting ready for this, and even in the past with all the messaging about the Titans and Olympia and Kronos and time. They've been preparing for this, the mystery of iniquity has, for a long time. They are getting ready for the emergence of their Lion King, their Sun King. We've looked at before their connection with the Lion King and Times Square, because it's all connected. The Lion King, their Sun King, they're getting ready for him to return. That's what the whole Triumphal Arch is all about. That's what the whole Palmyra, palms, Triumphal Arch, palms and phoenix. That's what it's all about. They're pulling it all together right now. They know what time it is. They know their lion is about to be unrestrained. And speaking of this phoenix concept that they expect him to come in as, they promoted this same phoenix concept at this Olympics with the palms. We talked about before how palm trees are often used to represent a phoenix because you can cut a palm tree down, you can burn it down to the stump, and it will still grow back. So a palm tree has long been used as an alternative picture of the phoenix. And this is what was promoted at this Olympic Games opening ceremony. The palms in connection with the sun god Apollo that they lit up and who they prayed to earlier. It's all coming together. This is what they're celebrating and getting ready for. The Palmyra Arch from the city of palms. The Roman triumphal arch. And you will remember at the last Olympic Games, this is what they were also celebrating, getting ready for. The phoenix. The return of their Sun King, the return of their Lion King. And at Katy Perry's halftime show, this was the exact same concept in that too as well. Her coming in as a phoenix and as a Prometheus at the Phoenix Stadium, where she enacted the lion coming through the gateway, the phoenix character too as well, coming through the gateway. They know exactly what time it is, and this is what they've been getting ready for. The return of their Lion King. They know exactly what time it is. They know he is about to be unrestrained. And on August 10th, in just a few hours, is Lion Day. A whole day called World Lion Day. Supposedly to draw attention to saving the lions and all that. And this got a big push last year with the whole thing with Cecil as well. So this is coming up and it's getting a lot of attention too. This isn't one of those special days that nobody hears about. This is a World Lion Day and get a lot of attention in the news. You can see different events and venues doing special things for Lions Day. The Animal Planet's doing a whole marathon on World Lion Day with different lion shows and stuff. This is a lot more known than more obscure special days. Lion Day, right exactly in this window on the last day that Jupiter's going to be in Leo, the Lion constellation. This is not accidental. They've been using the past year to prepare their disciples because they know what time it is. But then also, on this exact same Lion Day, August the 10th, will be the exact same day that the sun enters the constellation Leo, the Lion. And this we know for sure. You can go on Earth Sky, the dates of the sun entry into each constellation of the zodiac, talking about the astronomical perspective about it. And they give the dates for it. And it's interesting, even they note, you may know that the real sun in the real sky does not appear in front of a constellation of the zodiac within the same range of dates you'll see listed in astrological horoscopes. That's because astrology and astronomy use different systems. Astrologers typically indicate the sun's positions with signs, whereas astronomers use constellations. Big difference here. But they point out that on August 10th, the sun will enter the constellation Leo. And you can also verify that in astronomy programs too as well. And you'll remember we covered in Psalms 19, their line is gone out through all the earth. We talked about the ecliptic and how the sun and the constellations travel along what's called the ecliptic. And the sun's circuit is on this path and comes around every single year, and the constellations are repeated every single year, because that is the circuit that is followed. That is the line, and that is the circuit. And the sun will travel along this line and be in different spots throughout the year. And so on August 10th is when it will have reached coming into the constellation of Leo. Their line is gone out through all the earth. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun. The ecliptic is where this sun stays, and it tabernacles. Every single day it stops at a different point visually, and it's seen in a different spot. But it keeps on going and keeps on going, but that is its tabernacle. That is where it stays. And notice that the Bible uses the wording tabernacle. That is where the sun lives. That is where it is housed. That is where its tent is. And it travels along, setting up its tent, so to speak, every single day in a different spot along that line. So you really can divide up the line into about 365 different tabernacle spots. Every single day it's going to be setting up its tabernacle, so to speak, in a different spot. Job 9:9, which maketh Arcturus, Orion, and Pleiades, and the chambers of the south. And we talked about Job's familiarity with the constellations and the stars before, but here is a new term for us to study today, the chambers of the south. What are the chambers of the south? Well, when we look at the ecliptic, when we look in a southward direction, is when you will best see the constellations and the different spots and stations along the ecliptic. Those are the chambers. Every single day, the sun stops in a different chamber, so to speak. And this is how the sky and the ecliptic have been divided up for thousands of years, dividing it up into different segments and chambers, and even the constellations along the ecliptic as different chambers. And so when the Bible talks about chambers of the south, it's talking about the areas, the sections, the stations, the tabernacles, which are generally seen when the sun is in the south. So the scriptures talk about the heavens and the constellations and the chambers in the sky a lot more than most people realize. And so on the 10th of August is a very interesting day because the sun is changing chambers, but also Jupiter is getting ready to change chambers too as well, because that's the last day that Jupiter is going to be in Leo's chamber, and then the next day on the 11th it's going to be in Virgo's chamber. But then also the sun is changing chambers on the 10th as well. And we find ourselves running out of time. Jupiter is still in the hind legs. It's still in Leo the lion, still in Judah. It's still in that chamber. So the focus right now is on the lion still and the scepter and all that. We are anticipating the gathering of Messiah's people. And we see our attention being drawn to that message right now. I am my beloved's, and my beloved is mine. And we have seen the transition from the month of Av to the month of Elul just a few days ago, bringing together these two pictures right at this last mile marker, and this is our expectation at this time. We do not know the day or hour, but we can see we are running out of time. And when I overlay the modern, internationally recognized boundaries of the constellation of the chamber of Leo, Judah, Jupiter is in the hind legs still. It is still in Judah too as well. The prophecy is still ongoing for just a little bit more. But it should catch our attention, the timing of all this, that works with clockwork precision, that the last day Jupiter will be in Judah is on the 10th, which is the exact same day that the sun enters the chamber on the 10th as well, forming with clockwork precision two bookends of this very important constellation, chamber, and tabernacle. Right here at this finish line, it is finishing out with amazing precision, drawing our attention that this is not accidental. Our attention has been drawn to this prophetic time with the star Bethlehems and everything else we've seen. Our attention is being drawn here deliberately to this message, to this subject, to this time, to this chamber. And the constellations and various cultures throughout history have used very similar wording in their astronomy too as well. referring to the different sections and divisions along the ecliptic as chambers. In the biblical term, chambers of the south, but also referring to the tabernacles in the heavens as well. Other cultures have used words like inn, mansions, lodging houses. This is well known historically in astronomy and of course the Bible too as well, dividing up the sky into different chambers and tabernacles that the sun moves along and tabernacles in. Hebrews 11:8. By faith Abraham, when he was called to go out into a place which he should have to receive for an inheritance, obeyed. And he went out, not knowing whither he went. By faith he sojourned in the land of promise as in a strange country, dwelling in tabernacles with Isaac and Jacob, the heirs with him of the same promise. For he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Through faith also Sarah herself received strength to conceive seed, and was delivered of a child when she was past age, because she judged him faithful who had promised. Therefore sprang there even of one, and of him as good as dead, so many as the stars of the sky in multitude, and as the sand which is by the seashore innumerable. These all died in faith, not having received the promises, but having seen them afar off, and were persuaded of them, and embraced them, and confessed that they were strangers and pilgrims on the earth. For they that say such things declare plainly that they seek a country. And truly, if they had been mindful of that country from whence they came out, they might have had the opportunity to have returned. But now they desire a better country, that is, an heavenly. Wherefore God is not ashamed to be called their God, for he hath prepared for them a city. John 14:1. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again, and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there ye may be also. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech, nor language, where their voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. In them hath he set a tabernacle for the sun, which is as a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. August 10th. The last day Jupiter will be in the chamber of Judah is also the same day that the sun, picturing the Son of Righteousness, is coming out of his chamber. A beautiful picture here. The Son of Righteousness coming out of his chamber, coming for his beloved to gather his people. Isaiah 26:20. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, the Lord cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. Revelation 5:5. And one of the elders saith unto me, Weep not. Behold, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, hath prevailed to open the book, and to loose the 7 seals thereof. The book of Revelation starts with introducing us and showing us the Lion of the tribe of Judah, standing with his people, that he has redeemed out of every kindred and tongue and people and nation. And it is at this moment, after he has gathered all his people, that is when the Lion of the tribe of Judah takes the book and opens the seals. After his beloved is safe, after he has called his beloved to his chamber, only then will the tribulation seals be opened. The Lion hath roared. Who will not fear? The Lord God hath spoken. Who can but prophesy? We have heard the trumpet call. Are we rising up? Are we trimming our lamp? Are we putting on the armor of light? Are we shining bright? Are we shining brighter today than we were a few months ago? Than we were a few weeks ago? Than we were a few days ago? Are we putting on the armor of light? Are we living in light of Christ's return? Are we striving to be Christ-like at this time? How we shine now is a reflection of how much we love our Redeemer, how much we love our beloved. Behold, the bridegroom cometh. Go ye out to meet him. Now is the time when we check our lamp. Now is when we trim off anything that keeps us from shining bright. Daniel 12:3. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. We are called to be wise. We are called to put on the armor of light. How we shine now will be reflected for all of eternity. Have you heard the trumpet call at midnight that the bridegroom cometh? Have you heard the lion roar? Are you rising up? Are you shining bright for your Redeemer? And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Serve Christ first and highest above all else. Maranatha.